Hi everybody, welcome to today's webinar. My name is McKay Allen. I'm the content manager at Log My Calls, and thanks for joining us today. We know it's a busy time of year in the summer, and we appreciate you spending a few minutes with us. We have a really great webinar on mobile marketing today. You can see the title of it on your screen, and we're excited that Greg Hickman's agreed to join us and present today. I do want to just go through a couple of quick business items, and then we'll get right into the presentation and introduce Greg. First, Log My Calls, we host these webinars once or twice a week. We're not doing them next week because of the holiday, of course, but generally we do these webinars once or twice a week, and they're always really good. Our goal is to educate you with marketing tactics, and people say, well, why does a call tracking company want to do that? Well, because when people are better marketers, we're not entirely charitable, right? When people are better marketers, they generate more calls, and they see a better and more urgent need for call tracking. So just to give you some background, Log My Calls is a call tracking tool, call recording tool. It allows marketers to track which campaigns, ads, keywords, etc. generate phone calls and which don't. So anyway, it's a great tool for marketers and a great analytics tool. This webinar is going to be recorded, so you can access it on logmycalls.com after the webinar is completed. You'll get an email tomorrow morning that will have the recording attached to it, so you can listen to it. Again, share it with anybody you want to. And everybody you've ever met, we prefer to share with everybody. That will be sent out early tomorrow morning. So with that, I do want to introduce Greg. Greg is a digital marketer for Cabelas, but he also has a growing in popularity mobile marketing consultancy. He can explain a little bit more of exactly how he engages with clients. But suffice it to say, he is an expert in text message marketing and mobile SEO and mobile landing pages and mobile location-based marketing. And he has a very popular podcast that is on mobilemixed.com, where he has a lot of mobile marketing experts guest on there and speak on there. And so it's a really good tool for anyone wanting to learn about mobile marketing. So go to mobilemixed.com. And you're going to have all the mobile marketing information your heart could ever desire. One more note before we toss it to Greg. If you have questions today, just type those in to the little questions or chat bar on the GoToWebinar screen there, and we'll address those to Greg at the conclusion of his presentation. So with that, Greg, welcome. Thanks for doing this, and we're excited to hear what you have to say.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. And you can hear me all right?
Yeah, you're perfect. You sound great.
Cool. And you can see my screen as well, correct?
Yes, I can, absolutely.
Awesome. Well, again, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. And today we're going to be talking about really having successful mobile marketing campaigns, and then the first three things that your business should really focus on when it comes to getting started with mobile marketing, adding it to your business, making it a part of your overall strategy. But before that, I'll quickly tell you a little bit about myself. So I am a mobile marketing coach and consultant. I am the founder and host of mobilemixed.com, as McKay just mentioned. It is a blog and podcast teaching businesses how to implement and integrate mobile marketing into their business. We've just surpassed the 62nd episode, and we feature a lot of great mobile marketers, top strategists in the country, as well as brands and small businesses that are using mobile, and really dissecting and helping break down how the small to medium-sized business can be leveraging mobile in their own business. As was already mentioned, I do lead the mobile strategy for Cabelas, which is a large retailer in the hunting, fishing, and camping space. And I've been involved in mobile since 2005. So this is before the iPhone, before smartphones were really popular. So I've been at it for a while and have since worked with a handful of clients such as the New York Jets and a handful of other professional sports teams, as well as AT&T. So I've worked with big brands and small businesses implementing mobile marketing programs. So with that being said, we'll kind of talk about what we're going to talk about here today. So one, we're going to talk about really the key to success when implementing mobile marketing. And we're going to talk about how every business really should get started, and then identify those 3 things that you should be doing in your own business and or your client's business if you are a consultant. So the first thing, before we even jump into tactics, and this is the biggest mistake that I see people make, is jumping right into tactics without having sort of a strategy. And one of the first things that you need to do is really understand where your customers are coming from. And with how mobile we are, how we consume content today, there's a lot of different ways that someone could end up on your website from a mobile device, whether that's from a text message, a QR code, through Google search, name your favorite social media platform, and email, which is commonly overlooked. So you really need to, as a business owner, understand, one, how people are actually finding you in the first place, and then really identify all of those different ways that someone could actually get to your business and your site from a mobile phone, because there are so many. So looking at your customers, whether that's when they're in your establishment, if you have a brick and mortar location, or looking at your analytics, Google Analytics or whatever analytics provider you use, to start seeing where people are finding out about you and coming to experience your business and your brand. So really, once you start to understand them, you really need to get to know them, and every single one of your customers is going to use different tools. Some people might use smartphones. Some people might be more adept to text message marketing. So understanding who your customer is in your own business is really, really important. And I say that because, again, a lot of businesses will look to bigger brands as inspiration, or even other businesses maybe in their own industry that maybe have a mobile website or have a smartphone application, or doing things a certain way, and try to mimic that, or very closely, and sometimes too closely, mimic that or replicate that, and it doesn't actually resonate with their own audience. Whether you're, say you're a Chinese restaurant or something of that nature, and you look to see what another Chinese restaurant is doing, your customers are still different than their customers, and you need to understand how they're different and how they use their mobile phone, because, again, each of your customers is different, and the way that they use their phone, mobile device, tablet, etc., is going to be different than the next customer and the next business. So really understanding which tools those are is going to help you figure out which tools within mobile marketing you need to use to best connect with those folks. So at that point, you really need to understand what are their needs. Depending on what your business is, their need is going to change. But from a mobile user perspective, and there's a big they break down very simply into this pyramid, and I'll go through each of these individually, but ultimately you're looking at access, interaction, performance, and enhancement. And no matter whether you have a separate mobile site or you have a responsive site, which we will talk about here in a little bit, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, you're trying to give your customer or prospective customer the best experience possible, no matter what device they are on. And that falls into these 4 buckets, because at the end of the day, the mobile user needs certain things. So at the very foundation, they need to be able to access your business, your site, your content from a mobile device. So some businesses that are really just getting started, that don't even have a mobile-friendly site, you try to visit from your phone and they get absolutely nothing. They don't even get the full site. So making sure that they can at least access your business, the content that you share, and really kind of let them know who you are, is that very foundation. As you move up the pyramid, you have interaction. So once they're there, they need to be able to interact with you, your business, and your site. So whether that means they're calling you, or maybe they're finding the About page to learn more about what your business offers or your service offering, allowing them to navigate. So interaction actually kind of most often manifests itself in the form of navigation, being able to get from one part of your site to the next so that they can accomplish the tasks that they are looking to accomplish. So for example, a lot of my first-time audience members, and this is more of an online business, so with my podcast and whatnot, people are listening to me through their smartphone, through iTunes. And I often drive people back to my site by mentioning the URL and a special sign-up URL and the show notes, so they can go back and kind of click on any links that we might have talked about during the episode. Well, if that's the first time that person is ever hearing me on my podcast, they've probably never been to my site. So now they've listened, they've heard what I've had to say in one episode, maybe they listened to a handful, and they're ready now to come experience what's going on the web, and they visit from a phone because they were just listening to my podcast from the phone, and they get to those show notes because they listened to the podcast and they went to episode 56, and they're like, okay, I really like the content here, but I want to learn more about Greg. He's talking a lot about mobile. I want to understand what his background is, and they can't find the about page. So right then and there, I've warmed them up. I've enticed them to come visit my site, learn more about me. I've engaged them, but now I'm not enabling them to go take the tasks that would help them better connect with me and create that deeper relationship, because maybe they can't find even the about button or the about page or any of my service offerings. So interaction really comes down to navigation, and depending on which solution you're using, just always pay attention to how a user from a mobile phone or tablet accesses and navigates your site. As you move your way up that hierarchy of user needs, you have performance, and this is often overlooked. And just because we have smartphones, sometimes we're connected to Wi-Fi, that we just expect the mobile site to load fast. There's actually a statistic that reports that mobile browsers expect the mobile site to load faster than the desktop, mainly just because it's smaller and on a smaller device, when in fact that's really not the case at all. In fact, sometimes it's actually loads slower on a mobile device than it does on, say a laptop or a desktop. So performance, you have to basically go into your mobile site understanding that not every single one of your users is going to have the highest speed of internet access. So as you go through that testing and you're building your site, or you're even just doing some performance testing after hearing this conversation, go test your site and how fast it loads in different areas, not just when you're connected to Wi-Fi, not when you're just in the middle of the downtown of a city. Maybe go out to a little bit of a rural setting or something and kind of start exploring to see, how fast does my site load? Would someone ever even really need to get to my site from this sort of location? Depending on your business, people might be accessing your site from places that might not have the best internet connection. So understanding that and how that's going to affect your site performance is really, really important, mainly because I believe it was Google came out with a statistic that said that they found that if a mobile user, if someone comes to your site and the site is unfriendly or not easy to navigate or doesn't load fast enough, there is a 47% chance, almost 50% chance, that that user will never, ever, ever again return back to your site from a mobile phone. So if that is the first time that they could potentially be connecting with you and your business, you have a 50% chance of losing them for good. So performance is definitely critical. We can touch on that a little bit more in a bit. And lastly is enhancement. And really what this means is that understanding that the mobile browser, the smartphone device, the internet browser on your mobile device is actually different than a desktop browser. It can do different things that a desktop browser can't do. Your mobile browser can actually incorporate the user's location. You could tap into different keyboards and things like that to make the mobile experience much better, or enhanced rather, because you know that they're visiting your site from a mobile device. So a great example outside of just knowing location, I find, is that when, say, you're a retail business and you need to enter your shipping information, and you click into the zip code field. And if you've ever done this from a phone, some sites still to this day, when you click that zip code field, even though that all zip codes are pretty much numbers, the alphanumeric keyboard on your device shows up, and then you have to click over to click on your QWERTY keyboard to the numbers and start entering the numbers. Well, because they're on a mobile device, and you know that through a line of code that you can add to your site, you can actually serve them the phone number dial pad, which if you've ever entered a zip code from a phone would be a whole lot easier using the actual phone number dial pad to enter that zip code. So little subtle things just like that, that because you're on a mobile device, the browser knows that you're on that device, and you can enhance that experience, make it easier for them to navigate through certain tasks that might be occurring from your site. So again, the mobile browser is different than the desktop browser, and you need to take into account those differences so that you can potentially enhance that experience. So outside of just understanding your customer and understanding where they're coming from, really there are 4 pillars to mobile marketing. And this is a quote from Bruce Hershey, who's been a guest on my show 2 times. He is probably one of the top mobile strategists in the country, if not around the world right now, talking about mobile marketing. He works for a company called Merkle, and I'm going to take you through these 4 pillars because these are things that I actively leverage for both Cabelas and every single small business that I use. And no matter what type of business you have, if you follow these 4 pillars in creating your mobile strategy, you will be so much more likely to have success that it would make no sense at all to not follow these. So I really highly recommend following this path. And the 4 pillars, and we'll go through each of these, is first having a mobile marketing strategy, and then going into identifying the mobile marketing tactics, how you're actually going to promote those programs through media integration, and then how that all connects to your CRM, so your customer relationship management tool. So looking at your mobile marketing strategy, success in business, let alone just mobile, only comes when your programs are tied to marketing objectives. So having some sort of goal in mind, a measurable goal, is really critical in you actually being successful, because if you don't have goals, how are you going to measure your success? So in the first phase of creating a mobile marketing strategy, you do need to do the work of reviewing your consumer profiles. So we talked about understanding understanding your customer in general, but most businesses, and if you don't already, I highly recommend doing this, is creating a customer persona. And a customer persona is essentially a deep dive into the different types of customers that you may have in your business. And that could be not just things like demographic, gender, age, but also behavior. So, maybe, so an example for Cabelas, we have one of our customer profiles is a 57-year-old male. He has 2 children. He uses our Cabelas Club Visa credit card. He is an avid hunter and fisher, and he prefers to connect with us either by going to the store and or using our call center. Again, Cabelas is a very old company, over 50 years old, so people still actually use the call center. So that's just one of our personas. So we go into those details. We understand their life situation. So their kids are most likely in college already. So they're, the parents are alone at the home. And really just understanding how they shop, how they prefer to shop, is really, really important to being able to communicate with them efficiently. So having that customer persona in mind when identifying these goals and strategies is really important. Then you want to go and review your overall marketing strategy and goals. So just because we're creating a mobile strategy doesn't mean it needs to be something different than your overarching business strategy. So look at what the business strategy is, what the marketing strategy is, and then identify those goals. And through that, you're going to develop a mobile strategy that's going to address your overarching business goals. And then from there, once you've kind of created that strategy, you're going to create a roadmap, essentially a calendar that says, here are the steps I'm going to take by these dates to get closer to reaching these goals that I've identified for myself. And when it comes to creating goals, I highly recommend that you create a measurable goal. So that's also based on a time frame. So, I'm looking to increase sales by 15% in the next 6 months as compared to the same time last year. So, that gives you super identifiable goals of, I have to increase by 15% within 6 months, and that's going to be compared to this exact same time period of last year. So super concrete, clear goals are really going to help make sure that you actually move forward correctly. So laying out that strategy based on your consumer profiles and the overarching business goals is really the first step. Diving into your tactics, this is where you want to make sure that you're implementing proven tactics that are actually going to drive results. So you've reviewed those consumer profiles. Now you want to create what Bruce calls a mobile persona. And this is a really great tactic a really great method because, again, kind of going back to knowing your customer and which tools they might be using, maybe your customer is more likely to use a tablet than they are, say, a smartphone. You might use different strategies or different tactics at that point. So identifying who your customers are, what kind of phone they're using, how they use their phone. Are they text messengers? Are they likely to be using mobile search? Will they scan a QR code? Are they holding their phone around while walking in a store and using augmented reality? So understanding exactly who they are and how they're actually using their mobile device is going to help you identify which tactics are really going to help you reach those people. And I can tell you this is a huge mistake people make. They just dive into, the latest, shiniest object that, for the sake of the example, we'll just say augmented reality. And because everyone's talking about it, they dive into augmented reality, and when in fact maybe their customer is, their core customer is 65 years old. I'm not sure when the last time you saw a 65-year-old walking around using augmented reality, but the likelihood of that happening is actually pretty low. So depending on who your customer is, are they going to use these tactics that you set out to use? And I really would say use the mobile persona to drive which tactics you use. And then you're going to identify those that offer you the largest possible reach to all of your consumers. So very, very selective on which mobile tools you use is very important. Next is media integration, and a lot of people, at least with SMS marketing, they're like, well, how do I start building my list? Like, I don't have phone numbers. Can I buy a list of phone numbers? Which I highly recommend you don't do because it's illegal, and you'll probably get sued if you buy a list of mobile phone numbers that aren't opted into receiving your messaging. But mobile is one of the most dependent channels that exists today. What I mean by that is, without the other channels that you use in your business to market to your customers, mobile would not be as successful. So whether you're creating an SMS text message marketing campaign, whether you're using QR codes, whether you're trying to be better with mobile SEO, you need to rely on other aspects, other media channels. If you're doing paid search, you need to understand how paid search media works when it comes to a mobile device. So where am I going to put my call to action? Where am I going to announce my program? So review the media that you have available to you and look at the promotional calendar that you should have in place, or if you don't have one, you should look to have some sort of promotional calendar and see where you can start integrating your mobile marketing touch points within the media channels that you are already planning on using. One thing that I see businesses do is create this whole separate plan for mobile, and it becomes this little silo that lives in its own world, and that's the worst thing you could possibly do. Mobile works best when it's integrated with other channels. So just look at all the things you're already doing in your business and look for ways to mobilize them. So really this just means determine what channels are going to get a mobile call to action and then which mobile call to action they're going to get. Lastly, we want to bring all the data that we get together. So this can actually be a phased approach. It is something that even the biggest brands are still working on, I can promise you. So take one step at a time, and what bringing data together means for a company like Cabelas is going to be different than what it means for, say, a local restaurant. And just because everyone's talking about big data or whatever doesn't mean as a small business owner that you really need to fall into some of these things, but you can capture data and you can use it to your advantage. So really understanding what data are you capturing based on the mobile channel that you're using. So for example, if you're using SMS text message marketing, there's some specific data that you get when someone engages with you through text messaging. You get their mobile number, you get their wireless carrier, you get what they're texting back and forth, so you can be capturing data based on mobile surveys that are sent via text messaging, and you could be storing that data on your side and then use that to intelligently communicate with your customer moving forward through that channel. From a mobile website, you're going to start getting location, click-through information from what sites they're leaving to go to, coming from. And really, as you collect all these different data points from the different ways that people are connecting with you from their mobile device, you are going to try to put all that together to create this more robust, complete customer profile so that you could sit there and say, John prefers to be communicated via text message. he really wants to get offers and specials from our business, and he really only wants to be communicated with maybe once or twice a month. Whereas Jamie doesn't text message. She's never going to do that, but she always checks her email. She always connects with us via our email campaigns, and she actually frequently comes to our site through some sort of Google search or something like that. So what are those searches that she's using to potentially get to your site, and tying that back to the customer profile to make more educated decisions. And this is how you're going to create future targeting in your messaging moving forward. So really quickly, to recap those, you have your mobile marketing strategy, you have your mobile marketing tactics, identify which tactics will give you the most reach but tie into your specific customer based on their customer persona and their mobile persona. Where are you going to promote your mobile marketing program? What media touch points can you integrate with? And then how are you going to collect this data and use it to your advantage to create more targeted messaging? And when it comes to mobile, at the end of the day, you're really just trying to send the right message to the right customer at the right time in the right context. So by bringing all this data in and using it to influence and educate you on your future messaging will be really the best for the consumer and best for the return on your investment. So all that's great. That's some strategy talk for you, but when it comes down to what things do I need to do, so this is the people listening, this is you telling me, this is your quote right now. That's all great, but where do I get started? So first, the very foundation, we've already kind of talked about all the different ways people can get to your website from a mobile device. So really, from a no-brainer perspective, making your website mobile-friendly is super critical. And still a lot of businesses don't do this. And Google just made an announcement that if your business's website is not mobile-friendly and or misconfigured from a mobile perspective, they are going to demote you in their search rankings, which means when people are looking for you from their phone, Google is going to make it a lot harder for them to connect with you, but make it a whole lot easier to connect with businesses that have a mobile website. So if you don't have a mobile website and you're listening to this call, you can even stop listening right now and go figure out making a mobile website, because it is that important, and Google is going to make it that way. So if you rely on people finding your business from a search and you don't have a mobile website, start there. So there's really two different ways you can go about this, and I have different recommendations based on the type of business. So you could build a separate mobile site and or responsive site. And for those of you who are not familiar with responsive design is a new technique, if you will, to make your website mobile friendly. And you can use WordPress themes that are responsive, but essentially responsive design is your website is built off of one set of code that uses what are called media queries to determine the screen resolution of the device that's trying to access the site. And then based on that screen resolution, it will show you a different layout. A great example would be to go to the Boston Globe or Smashing Magazine or New York Times. All three of those sites are responsive, and you can figure that out by taking your mouse and clicking on the bottom right corner of the browser window and dragging it slowly into the left, making that window much more narrow. And you'll see how the content readjusts itself based on the resolution, and that is responsive design. Then you have the ability to create a separate mobile site, which is using some tools that I'll mention here in a minute to create, say, an m.yourdomainname.com. You might have seen that when visiting some sites from your phone. Now, this is a completely separate site, different set of code, and you'll probably be managing it using a different tool. So say your site's built on WordPress and you create a separate mobile site, you might use a different content management system to manage the data and content on your mobile site. So which one's right for you? In my opinion, if you're a local business, so thinking restaurants, salons, coffee shops, bike shops, bars, you have a local presence, I highly recommend you create a separate mobile site. And I say that because of really the intent of the mobile searcher. So announcement, or more of a statistic, that report that Google came out and said 90% of mobile searchers will take action within one day. and I believe it's 67% of which will take action within 1 hour. And action is defined by they're calling your business, they're visiting your business, they're visiting the website, they're placing an order, they're using Find Me or to try to get directions. So with that being said, especially from a local perspective, so much of that search being on a local level, I encourage local businesses, small businesses, to make sure that their mobile website enables the visitor to take one of those actions. So you can do that much better or more efficiently and cost effectively, I would say, using a separate mobile site than, say, a responsive design site. So by doing that, you're actually focused on conversion. You're focused on converting that visitor to take one of those actions that you know statistically they're going to take, if not within the hour, but within the day, 90% of the time. And some of those things are going to be leveraged services like click to call, and then maybe using something to track track that call with a tool like Log My Calls. Maybe finding the store or placing an order or making a reservation or appointment through some sort of either mobile reservation tool and or maybe just calling to make an appointment. So for local businesses, smaller businesses, I highly recommend a separate mobile site, at least for right now, because it's your best bet at optimizing for that conversion and driving actual business. It will become a sales and lead generation tool for you more than it will be a website. Now, if your business is content-based, like, say, my mobile mix site, it's a blog, it's a podcast, I create value through blogging and creating content for people that they engage in that content and over time will become a customer. People aren't necessarily coming to my blog thinking that they need a mobile marketing consultant or a mobile marketing coach or any one of the other services that I offer. They're looking for content, and the content is what sells them. So I need to make sure that no matter what piece of content they find on my site, that they're able to access it, navigate, and make their way through and learn more about what I'm trying to teach. So responsive actually allows me to do that much better than a separate mobile site. It's aimed more at engagement versus converting the customer into a sale right there in that moment. And really, it helps you enable browsing of all the different content and lead conversion pages that you might be using. So depending on what type of your business is or what type of business your client has, you can think about these different approaches. One might be better than the other, so you can take that to to one of your clients or back to your own business. Secondly, you want to make your email mobile friendly. This is the most overlooked mobile marketing channel that exists, mainly because you're already doing it, most likely, and most likely you're not making your emails mobile friendly. So industry average is about 43% of all email opens are coming from a mobile device. So I don't care how big your list is, it's approaching 50% of those people are opening your email and reading it from a mobile phone. If you're lucky, they're opening it and reading it. So what can you do to make your email more mobile friendly? Well, first think about you as yourself, how you use your phone, really as a content filter in the morning. I can tell you that every morning I wake up, I grab for my phone, unfortunately, because it's my phone alarm, or my alarm to wake up, and I quickly go through my email and I delete as many emails as possible to kind of eliminate that stress before I get my day started. And that could be one of your emails. So we're using our mobile device now as a content filter, at least for our email inbox, of what emails we're actually allowing to get through to us when we actually sit down and we're ready to consume it. So some things to focus on to make sure that your email doesn't get filtered out is focusing on your subject line. If you've ever looked at your email from your phone, you'll notice that first the sender, the name of the sender is much larger than the subject line. So if your emails get sent from a weird address like news@yourdomain.com, I would consider changing that to be more clear since it's going to be much more prominent on the mobile phone. As for subject line, you'll notice that the subject line on a lot of emails gets truncated, or you'll see the ... at the end because it's too long. Well, on your mobile phone, you have about 5 to 7 words before that subject line gets truncated. So make sure that in 5 to 7 words you entice the reader to click into your email and read it. If I can't tell what your email is about in 5 to 7 words, it very well could be one of the ones that I delete. You could include a pre-header, which is, I forget the exact number of characters, but can give you the opportunity to include a call to action that kind of lets the reader know a little bit more in depth of what's going to happen in that email. That's not just pulling from that first sentence in the body copy of your email. Next, make it thumb friendly. So if there's buttons, best practice is 44 pixels by 44 pixels at a minimum. So you want to make sure that if you have buttons that they're very thumb friendly and they're not next to other buttons so that it's easy to click them. A clear call to action is super important here. Making sure that your call to action is early in the email, above the fold, if you will help people take action faster when they're reading from a mobile phone. And lastly, just like responsive design for your site, you can use responsive email templates that you can buy for very, very cost-effective rates. I mean, I bought a set of them for $8 once that you can implement where, again, the copy and content within the email will be responsive and adjust based on the screen size. Lastly is build a mobile database. I actually think this is overlooked a little bit, but what I mean by build a mobile database is essentially SMS, which is text message marketing, or MMS, which is multimedia messaging, sending pictures and video, because that's what's going to bring people back to your business. That's what's going to keep people engaged. So you want to bring them back for more and more and more, and really you want to use incentive to encourage them to opt in, and that could be a monetary incentive or even a non-monetary incentive. It doesn't need to be a coupon or a voucher. Maybe it's exclusive access. Maybe you're letting them, if you're a restaurant, maybe you're giving them a sneak peek into the specials for the evening, or you're going to give them a chance to do a walk through the kitchen or something like that. Incentive doesn't need to be monetary. It can be non-monetary, but incentive definitely will help people, encourage them to opt into your list and be able to message them for the future. So you want to leverage that immediacy. Over 97% of text messages are read within 15 minutes. There's pretty much no other marketing channel out there that will compete with that. So leverage that immediacy. Send trackable offers. Send clear call to actions that are going to make them take action right away, because you are going to interrupt them. They did raise their hand and say they wanted to receive messages from you. So when I say interrupt, I don't mean interrupt in a bad way. I mean you're just going to interrupt what they were doing, because there is no spam folder, there's no junk mail inbox. It's going to penetrate their phone, make a noise, vibrate in some way, and notify them, and they're going to see it very quickly. So make sure you're delivering high value, clear call to action, leveraging that immediacy. Then you have reminders. I know a lot of service-based businesses lose a lot of money on a yearly basis by just having people not show up to a reservation. I did a podcast, or a blog post rather, about a salon that I work with where she eliminated one no-show a week and resulted in over $20,000 to her business, her bottom line, in a year. So you start adding those numbers up based on your services. Just eliminating one no-show could be over $20,000 for your business, if not more, depending on what your pricing is. So send people reminders if they have an appointment, a tea time, a reservation, an appointment, 2 hours in advance. They can get it. Maybe they've opted in to receive the reminder. They get a text message, hey, don't forget you have an appointment in 2 hours. Click here and call us if you can't make it, and reschedule. If they happen to need to reschedule, and so if you have an app and you use push notifications, just make sure that you're considering how you're communicating with people, from text messaging to push notifications to email, and you're not just repurposing the same content all the time for all three of those, because the way that people engage with each of those mediums is going to be different, and you want to take that into account. And really, when it comes to messaging someone on their phone, really try to create exclusivity. It is the most personal device that we have. We keep it on us 24/7. Over 80-some-odd% of people in the United States have their phone with them within 3 feet, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So very personal, very intimate. So make sure that you take that into account when you're messaging people. So lastly, really just respect the most intimate relationship you're about to have with your customer. And I've been saying this a lot recently. We hold our phone very near and dear to our hearts. It is a piece of technology, but most people would prefer to lose their wallet than lose their phone, and that's been proven in studies. So again, it's a very intimate and personalized relationship with that customer, so take that into account. So I want to open this up to some questions, but if you want to connect with me, you can visit mobilemixed.com. There's a podcast called the Mobile Mix Podcast in iTunes and Stitcher Radio. And if you want to sign up for the email newsletter to get mobile marketing tips, you can visit mobilemixed.com/toolkit, and you'll get a kind of a free toolkit of some resources and videos and interviews of people kind of diving into some mobile strategy that will help you get started. So I will wrap that, and we can answer some questions for the next 15 minutes if we have some.
Awesome. Greg, that was great. Yeah, we do have a few questions, so I'll just jump right in here. It sounded like you're big on making sure that things are content, website, emails, etc., are customized to mobile. Is that a big problem still? I mean, you cited a few statistics, but is it still a big problem that we try to force the round peg of conventional online marketing, emails, websites, etc., calls to actions into that mobile hole? Is that a big problem that you see?
I would definitely say it's a big problem, but I wouldn't say it's because we're trying to force the round peg into a square hole, or vice versa. I think it's really a lot of people have been saying this is the year of mobile for the last 10 years, and social media got hot and content marketing is big, and I think really for at least from a smaller to medium-sized business, this is still very, very new to people, and they're not even aware of what mobile marketing means or what mobile means, or that there is a way to make their site better on a mobile phone. Like, I don't think they understand that or have realized how their audience or customers are actually connecting with them, versus like us trying to force something that we don't want to comply with. It's just more of a lack of education and understanding. But I mean, with that Google announcement that just came out, I mean, they said that I forget when they're launching. I think it's by September or something. That if your business doesn't have a mobile-friendly site, a mobile-optimized site, and/or it's misconfigured, and there's a handful of criteria for how it can be misconfigured, they're going to demote you in their rankings. And they did some blog just recently. I was tweeting it yesterday. They looked at the top Fortune 100 companies, and only 6 of the top Fortune 100 companies are set up to actually comply with Google's new rules, which is astonishing. I mean, these are the Fortune 100 companies, right? They have the most money, the biggest budgets, the staff to handle all this stuff, and only 6 of them are at this point ready to be compliant with Google's new rule. And everyone's going to always be trying to chase Google's new rule. They're constantly going to change, but it's new to everybody. Just because big brands are doing mobile things doesn't necessarily mean they're doing it right. So I just, again, really think it's a lack of education and just how fast mobile as a marketing tactic is evolving.
That's incredible. I actually didn't know that. That's interesting. So they will downgrade you in mobile rankings, mobile organic search, if your site does not meet their very specific mobile criteria. Is that accurate?
It is absolutely accurate.
Wow, interesting.
And I think the deadline is September, so you have time to act.
Yeah, that's right. Well, that's very good. If this webinar accomplished nothing else, that's incredible information. That's very useful, obviously. Can you talk a little bit, because one of the tools that one of the things that we're passionate about is mobile click-to-call. We're seeing a lot of our clients start to care about that more. And just to give folks some background, I mean, if you conduct a search on your smartphone, let's say a Google search, you will see in the paid searches, but also in the organic searches, an actual tappable phone number that will connect you directly to the business. Can you talk about how that works into a marketing strategy, number one, and then number two, how important is that becoming generally, mobile click-to-call?
I think it's super important, and I think, and not even to just because you're hosting this webinar, I think what the tool you guys have is only going to become more important, especially from a small to medium-sized business perspective. But I mean, even big brands like Cabelas, I mean, our customers are, average of 57 years old. We can bring out the coolest mobile technology that exists, but they still are used to making phone calls. Like, we still have a call center. We still send out catalogs that people call from the catalog to our call center. Like, calls are so important. It's you talking to your customer on the phone directly and have the ability to influence what they do next. And that could be obviously buying something from you or about to become a customer. So making it easy for your customer to connect with you using something like click to call, whether that's in a banner ad or a big fat button right on your mobile site when they get there, that's super important. So I think calling, voice as within the mobile channel is still one of the most powerful mobile marketing tools that exists. And plumbers, like any sort of thing that someone's could be calling or doing a quick search from their phone where they really need to call you fast. Like plumbers get a kick out of click to call, because if you're Google searching from your phone a plumber, you probably need that plumber pretty damn fast. You probably have a leak, you have something going on, and they're taking action. What better action to take than them call you and tell you to come to their house as soon as possible? That's money in your pocket. So it's just I think it's one of the fastest ways to connect, and I definitely think overlooked. And you guys offer a way to make sure that when people create these campaigns that are tied to a call, that they know which ones are effective and which ones aren't.
Yeah, that's the key right there. And a couple data points to sort of piggyback off your answer there. So Google, there's a study that we cite fairly frequently. They released it in 2012 about local mobile search, and that's really what generates a lot of calls. So if you search tires in Denver or plumbers Denver or whatever, and with mobile you don't even need to really do that because of location-based search. But anyway, they found that with local mobile searches, 87% of the time someone was looking up a map as part of that search. They wanted a map, they wanted to get somewhere. And then 61% of the time they also wanted a phone number. So over half the cases with local mobile search, a call was actually completed as a result of that search. So to your point, it's increasing in popularity. Another question with mobile, talk to us a little bit about text message marketing, because we've actually had a couple of webinars about text message marketing, and based on the hits on our website that SMS webinar received, that seemed to be a very popular topic. Talk about the growing nature of SMS. How are companies using it? Kind of give us the 30,000-foot view, if you can, of SMS.
So, I mean, no matter what type of business you are, SMS is the workhorse of mobile marketing. And the biggest brands will tell you that. Coca-Cola spends 70% of their mobile marketing budget on SMS, text message marketing, and that's because it works. It's not sexy, but it works, and it's a really great ROI. The top retailers in the country focus heavily on SMS, and it is an immediate way to connect with your customer, build a database that you own, that you can market to. It's not on Facebook's platform. It's not on Google Plus's platform. It's something that you can use to remarket to your customers that have expressed interest, and it's a permission-based opt-in channel. So these people are texting in or confirming that they want to receive these messages. What better way to communicate than with someone who said, I care about you so much that I want you to talk, I want you to message me on my phone whenever you have something great to tell me. And it drives traffic to the mobile websites. It drives traffic to application usage. I mean, at Cabelas, we're rolling out our SMS plan right now. But I mean, we use SMS to drive people to last-minute sales on our mobile website, to drive people to the stores, and it's just super effective for the cost. And my friend, who I built a mobile site for a local salon, and she has a list. It's her and one other employee, and she built a mobile list of about 350 people, I think it is at this point, in a matter of like 6 months. And every single time she sends out a message that says, hey, we have an opening at 4 p.m. today, or we have 3 openings today. Click here to call us and reserve your appointment now, and mention promo code, SAVE, and get $5 off. Every single time, she gets at least 10 or 15 phone calls. Every single time. She never has, unless someone totally just flakes out and doesn't show up and didn't use the mobile reminder, which she also uses. She has empty slots for the most part. I mean, it's amazing. And all she needs to do is send out one message once a week, and she's filling those appointment slots. And It's just one text message. I mean, she pays maybe $35 a month to be able to do that, and each of those people that come in are paying over $35. I mean, right there, that obviously already accounts for itself. So, I mean, why not? It's just so fast and so powerful that, it's one of the things I'm most passionate about, because that's kind of how mobile got started, using text message marketing. So it can drive people to do a lot of different things very fast, and even into your other aspects of mobile, like web or app. And then actually my last comment on that, because I do love it so much, is it's a great way to create or make your non-interactive media interactive. So say you do a billboard or a print advertisement, you can put a keyword call to action, text keyword call to action on that collateral that goes out, and watch how many people text in from that different piece of collateral and start measuring which collateral works best. Just like you measure which phone calls or which media is generating the most phone calls, you could have an advertisement that goes out all across the country and use 10 different keywords, and then come back and say, okay, New York is way more responsive than, say, LA. I'm going to spend more of my money in New York and maybe pull back some of my budget from LA, something like that, just using different text keyword call to actions. So super powerful.
That's awesome. Good questions from everybody today too. Good. Any final thoughts before we conclude? We're about at the end of the hour, so any last words for everybody, Greg? How do people get in touch with you? What can they do to work with you?
Sure. You can find me at mobilemixed.com. That's MIXED. You can email me at greg@mobilemixed. I offer coaching programs where it's sort of like an advisory role, working with you and trying to help you grow your business and implement strategies. I'm just announced the Mobile Marketing Tribe, which is essentially a monthly membership group where we talk about the latest and greatest mobile marketing strategies and how you can implement them in your business. All that information is at mobilemix.com, so you can go there and connect with me there.
Awesome. Well, good stuff. Greg, thank you for your time today. We appreciate it. Everybody, thank you for coming today. We'll shoot this recording out to you tomorrow, share it with people in your company, and especially anyone who would have any decision-making or in the weeds access to your mobile marketing strategy. So with that, thank you, everybody. Have a great 4th of July. Have a wonderful a weekend this week, and then, of course, a great 4th of July next week. So with that, we'll conclude. Greg, thanks again, and thank you, everybody, for coming today.
Thank you. I appreciate it.